Good morning, friends. The one inconvenient thing about chanting for 10 minutes or so before we start is that I really don't feel like speaking afterwards. But here we are. So welcome, wherever you are and however you are. And just that sense you might have of good fortune to be able to gather together in some sense of peace and harmony and a well-orientated heart in the midst of the confusion of the world. This world full of human beings. Somehow all of us. It's easy to think in terms of us and them, and yet all of us, all of us doing our best to live in some way that we think is right and true and just and peaceful, and all of us doing our best and all of us messing up in various ways. And it's easy to look over there or out there at the way he, she, they are messing up, small scale or large scale. But if we look inwardly, we see, oh yeah, I'm also messing up. And we see that it's like, it doesn't help to beat up on ourselves for all the ways we mess up, the clumsy words, the mean-spirited moments we might experience despite ourselves. And it seems very, very important to connect up that the way I mess up and the importance of being tender with that and the ways he, she, they, everybody messes up, and the importance of being tender in the way that we recognize and address that. Important to withhold our righteous judgments, to withhold our blame until we can see clearly and feel fully. And how might we meet the troubles of the world, our own troubles and each other's, and wider sphere? How might we meet the troubles of the world if we were able to withhold our righteous judgments and our blame until I can actually really see the situation clearly, feel the situation fully, understand where the other is coming from. It doesn't make the troubles go away, but it does change our sense of nuance, importantly. So just still feeling the echoes of the chanting. And I was speaking yesterday about somehow the appropriateness or the healing power, I would say, of the Bodhisattva vows in troubled times such as these. And of course, I'm thinking particularly of the war in Israel-Palestine and the kind of intractable nature of the conflict there since a very, very, very long time, centuries and more. And there's something about the intractable nature of that can make us despairing. And yet also there's something intractable about the Bodhisattva vows, endless beings and vowing to liberate them all. Endless, countless, boundless poisons, vowing to purify them all. Endless teachings, vowing to understand them all. Endless blessings, vowing to bow one's heart to them all. An endless road to travel, vowing to walk it to the very end. It's it's intractable, and yet there's something in the heart's response to lean into that vow, just to lean into that vow. Yeah. And so tomorrow will be Friday. I'll offer that chant in a way that we can chant it all together at the beginning of the session. Meanwhile, we've been exploring space and spaciousness of mind these days in different ways. The space within experience and the space around experience. And yesterday we started to explore some of what are called in the tradition the boundless or formless realms, and that have these different flavors, right? Now, just ways of exploring the inherent spaciousness. And in the case yesterday, we were exploring the infinite, the realm of infinite space, the realm where we recognize consciousness to actually be infinitely spacious. And, that may open up for you in various ways. But I think it's important if you don't need to feel you have to follow the meditation, that you're supposed to get it in some way. Nothing to get. It may be that your experience unfolds pretty much in line with the way I'm guiding the meditation, and if so, great. But it may not be like that at all. And yet all of these meditations are ways of just maybe even just glimpsing momentarily, possibly, the way that there's many ways to experience mind that are bigger, deeper, freer, truer, more open than the idea that our mind is this noisy thing in our head. That's really that's the very, 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 very basic understanding of mind. Manas, these different ways, but it talks about mind manas in terms of just my mind and my mind activity. Okay, that's manas, but there's also just vijnana, another way of talking about mind, the fundamental awakeness, right? The fact that mind is constantly available to experience. If I do this, you hear it. How do you hear it? You didn't know I was going to do that. You weren't planning in advance. You don't decide to hear it. You hear it because the nature of your mind is bodhi, awake, receptive. Knowingness. Your mind is made of knowingness. And then chitta is the other word. So like we were exploring yesterday, chitta, or what I sometimes call the chitta field, or even the chitta sphere, which is a completely made up word, but I like it very much. The chitta sphere, the infinite chitta sphere, the infinite sphere or space that is alive, right? Alive, receptive, the space in which sounds and sensations and thoughts and all of experience comes and goes. Right? So yesterday we explored the way mind is infinitely spacious, right? The infinite openness of the chitta sphere. And today we'll explore in the same way, really, but we'll just add another nuance, the way mind by its nature is infinitely knowing, right? Infinitely conscious. Right? And that clap was an example of that. And you're already awake. Your mind is deeply receptive, right? Such that anything that arises is known. That doesn't mean that everything that's going on around you is known, because attention, we have this amazing capacity to actually, for our attention, where our attention goes, we experience. And plenty of things happening in theory around us that where attention doesn't go there. And of course, attention mostly goes towards intensity. There are other sounds going on, but then just not impacting so much. And then so when there's an intense sound, when I make that, attention goes there. Same with bodily sensation. There's a whole lot going on all the time, right? Like we are sensitive organisms, our nerves and our cells are like fizzing and moving constantly, but mostly we don't notice that. They don't impact. It would be too much. Imagine the overwhelm if everything impacted constantly. So, but if something intense happens, right? If somebody comes up and behind you without your knowledge and suddenly taps you, bangs you on the shoulder, But that sensation, you'll notice, because intensity draws awareness. Yeah. Meditation, we're training ourselves to be more sensitive. So we're coming into just breathing and sensations that are not very intense. Right? It's easy for your attention to stay with that which is intense, but we're training our attention to enter into and stay with that which is not very intense. And that cultivates peace, cultivates relaxation, cultivates sensitivity, and it cultivates the recognition of this, the awakeness of mind, the aliveness of mind, the openness of mind, the space of mind, the knowingness of mind. So the fundamental ground of meditation, training our attention to let go, to be spacious around intensity, to be spacious around intensity, and to let go of habits. Because of course, if there's nothing particularly intense happening, then what does our attention do? Oh, it just follows our usual habits of rumination, habits of planning, habits of replaying the past, habits of analysis and judgment, whatever it is. So soften and open around intensity, so that even though there may be some intense sensations, for example, we're not grabbing onto them. And we keep letting go of habits, so that even though the thought life may be doing its usual circus, we're not really bothering about it. And we relax, and we steady, and we open. Open space. Space around experience. Space in which experience is happening. Space of awareness. And well, that's what we were doing yesterday, and we'll continue today, but adding this dimension of the infinite knowingness, infinite consciousness of mind. So, friends, take your seat for meditation. Sense into your posture. Settle into presence. Use these first minutes just to sensitize to the feel of this breathing body, sitting body, alive body. Harmonizing attention and experience. Letting them blend, like in the image the Buddha uses, blending like water and milk. Awareness in the breath, in the body, in the sensations of breathing. And this breathing body, felt, known, perceived, in the field of awareness. in this field of knowing. Letting your breath be natural, relaxed, effortless, letting it come and go by itself. And using the feel of the in-breath to expand into this field of awareness. Using the out-breath to relax into this field of awareness. Using the still point at the end of the out-breath to be still for a moment. Throughout the field of awareness. This is the invitation of the tide of breathing. Expanding, relaxing, stopping. In breath, out breath, pause. Relaxing begets spaciousness. Relaxing into this open space of awareness. In a space in which sounds come and go, in which sensations are felt, in which the whole tide of experience washes in and out. Open space. Conscious space. Awareness is not created. It's not the result of us doing anything. No, we relax into the naturally conscious field that is our own mind. We relax into this open field that is aware, that is conscious, that is luminous. And just like the endless night sky is illuminated by stars, so too the vastness, the limitless, empty space of consciousness is made luminous by this knowing. Mind is made of knowingness. Of luminous awareness. So we relax with nothing to do, nothing to manage. Nowhere even to direct our attention. Seeing that we're already here, that everything is already here. That mind is already awake and luminous. That everything is effortlessly known. Some anonymous medieval Christian mystic called this realm the cloud of unknowing. The cloud of unknowing. Cloud is light, vaporous, intangible, edgeless. And that unknowing is another kind of knowing. We're not knowing something, not knowing about, not knowing an object. All of that is melting into just a field that is luminous with awareness. A consciousness that's not doing anything but is conscious by its nature. This cloud of unknowing, this field of awakeness. That permeates space. And feels like it penetrates inwardly and outwardly, upwardly and downwardly. Boundlessly and edgelessly. And somehow, this is where our life is. Right in the center of and spread throughout this cloud of unknowing. This edgeless field of awakeness. When distractions arise, when you notice your attention's been fixated on something, when that fixation has taken up or occluded the space, just recognize that in becoming aware of that, this natural knowingness, this open field, this boundless wakefulness has reasserted itself. The very fact that we can notice when we've been caught up is only because mind is boundlessly awake. We say, oh, I was lost and then I became aware. But no. We were lost, and then mind's fundamental luminosity reasserted itself, reminded us that everything's here, that mind is awake. And we have this invitation to let go. To let go of what we think we know, to let go of who we think we are, to let go of what we think needs attention, and to rest into the cloud of unknowing. Into the fundamental luminosity of mind. Into this incomprehensible, limitless field of awareness. In this open field where everything is known naturally, spontaneously, effortlessly, then everything that appears and disappears does so naturally. It's as if everything that appears, every sound, every sensation, every thought, just appears in order to confirm the knowingness of mind, in order to reveal this fundamental luminosity. And the whole fabric of consciousness is made of this knowingness. Then on the one hand we could say whatever arises, nothing really matters. And yet everything is sacred. Or we could equally say everything matters. Whatever arises moment by moment is that which knowingness is revealing. Everything matters. Nothing is sacred. And this is where we let divisions dissolve, where our arguments quieten, where everything is tended to by being known, received, allowed, bathed in the luminosity of awareness, just briefly as it arises and expresses and passes. This is the ocean of infinite consciousness. Into which everything dissolves. When the meditation ends in a moment, when the sound of the bell appears in this ocean of knowing, and then when the movement of body happens, when you raise your eyes and seeing happens, and just see if you can stay with just this sense in a very ordinary way, maybe, of the way everything is just happening within an effortless field of knowingness. Doesn't need to feel a certain way. But just, sound is being known. Movement is being known. Seeing is being known. We may have no sense of what it is that's doing the knowing, or how to define that, or find it, or point to it. And yet, here is this knowing lighting up our experience. And so even though the formality of meditation ends, something of this cloud of unknowing, this field of awareness, this basic luminosity, can continue to reveal and surround and show us our experience. So it's a little time for questions. If you have some, particularly about the theme of the morning. If there was anything that seemed confusing or weird in this meditation or in the way that I described things, feel free to just leave it aside. You know? If anything felt disorientating or concerning, feel free to ask about it. You know? If anything felt particularly helpful or clarifying as an orientation, well, feel free to keep, orientating in that way. Yeah. So, just a couple of things before the questions. Just the reminder that just a daily, very brief reminder of dana. I said more yesterday, so I'll say less today. Just dana, mutual support for each other. All of this is offered freely, and yet we have many, many costs and overheads. And for you showing up, this is free of charge, free of obligation, but as I say, not free of cost. So if you're able to, wish to, move to support Sangha Live in meeting those costs, then hallelujah. We certainly need and totally, completely rely on you, on not you personally, but you collectively. We rely on your generosity and support. And sometimes that's rather precarious, and yet so far we've managed just about, sometimes very, very just about, so far we've managed to maintain that model throughout the maybe 7 years that Sangha Live has been operating for. So just to thank you in advance for the dana you might be able to support. You might appreciate if you're able to offer dana, just appreciating, even if you're only able to offer a very little, just appreciating your own good fortune, being able to offer. It's very beautiful. We easily feel kind of needy. So it's very beautiful to cultivate a sense of sufficiency. Right? I can offer support. Yes, thank you. And okay. Questions. Oh, thank you. George has just put the dana link in the chat there. Savina says, almost always when meditating, my hands are becoming too cold and tingling. It is okay, isn't it? Yes, it's okay. And it's not unusual for changes as we deepen into meditation for a while. It's not unusual at all for unusual changes in bodily temperature or density, right, or feeling. There's just kind of energetic unwinding that happens, and we might feel very big or very small, very light or very heavy, very hot or very cold, etc. So it's okay, nothing to be concerned about. It may last for some time, and then it will probably stop happening. And if it's disturbing, you might want to put a shawl or a sweater or something on top of or around your hands to help them keep a little warm. And otherwise, just let them go cold. Yeah. All right. There was a question somebody put. Caroline sent me a question that somebody had put in Connect and asked me to answer in these mornings. Steve asks, is it necessary to convert to Buddhism if one wishes, or is it something that is done inside without an outer ritual? It could be either. I mean, this might sound funny for me, but I don't feel like I've ever really converted to Buddhism somehow. But I do remember that Bud means awake. I'm very interested in awakeism or awakening. I think it's helpful to reframe Buddhism. The term Buddhism is a kind of Western scholastic term. When Europeans were going to Asia to study the Asians and the Asian religions and came up with this term Buddhism, there's nothing really equivalent in it's Dhamma. Dharma means teachings, practice, the way things are. So the Bud part It comes from Buddha. Buddha means one who's awake, and he spoke very much about buddhi, like we were speaking about today. This awake nature of things. Our nature is buddhi. Nature of mind is buddhi, awake. So, having said that, there is something very beautiful about about refuge. Right? Refuge is that threefold sense of leaning the heart into Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, leaning the heart into awakeness, into Dhamma, into acknowledging the way things are, and into Sangha, that sense of support, both human support, Sangha, but also the kind of more fundamental sense of life support. Taking refuge in the fact that life is breathing our lungs, beating our hearts, etc. And so if you have a situation where you feel that you want to take refuge, which is rather than the term convert to Buddhism, I would use that word, take refuge. Certainly you can take refuge inwardly. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. You might just repeat those three words, or you might chant the refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, etc. Dutiyampi, second time, Tatiyampi, a third time. Another way that's done is actually asking a teacher to guide you through taking refuge, and that's kind of a little more formal and ceremonial, where one actually sort of reflects upon and takes on that sense of refuge. And it's funny, I was just thinking actually in my retreats next year that I might build a little refuge ceremony into the end of retreats. And so in that way, just inviting people, those who would wish at the end of a retreat, to take refuge in that sort of formal way, should they wish it. And I always do that at the beginning of retreats anyway. We chant the refuges and I invite people to take refuge, which is not any kind of converting to Buddhism, right? It's rather, hey, let's use these three. What's a refuge? A shelter, a safe place, shelter from a refuge from the storm. So we all need that. You're just going to sit in silent retreat for a week, you need some refuge from the storm of your own mind. So what are good refuges? Awakeness is a good refuge. Buddha. And just, regardless of how I think things should be or could be, attending to the way and caring for the way things actually are. Dhamma. And realizing I'm not alone and taking in the support of life. Sangha. So there's different ways to orientate to Buddhism or awakening, and to refuge, which is the heart of what orientates one as let's say a Dharma practitioner or a Buddhist practitioner, right? That sense of refuge. I'm on the admissions committee for a teacher organization, and we're currently organizing an international Dharma teacher conference. And sometimes people apply to that conference who are teaching meditation, etc., but they're teaching it more in a secular context, or they're teaching mindfulness, etc., and they're interested in the conference. But one of our criteria, how do you assess who is sort of eligible for this conference? Well, one of the criteria is, do you take refuge? Is refuge in the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, is that a fundamental orientation? And I would say that's what most defines one as being in the stream of Buddhist teachings, and in kind of feeling oneself as belonging to this lineage of countless generations of people. More than just meditating, that sense of that's where I lean my heart, that's where I find refuge, that's where I go, to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, to awakeness, to the way things are, and to both offering and receiving deep support. Yeah. So that would be one orientation among various ways one could speak about that. Yes. All right. There was another question further up in the chat. I can't see it now. Just a reminder, please, to type question in capitals in front of anything you write so I can see it. Caroline, hello Caroline, says, I keep using sitting to be peaceful. And I observe that whenever a pending task or decision passes my heart immediately contracts, and then a relief of, oh, I'm sitting, I don't have to deal with this. So it sounds like, and I can relate to this myself, certainly, Caroline, from some stage in life of feeling a kind of resistance to or aversion to complexity. For me, it might be complexity or it might be duty. So I wonder where that comes from, that sense of, I have to do this. I wonder what there might be kind of early life, the way that was set up, the way you may have been pressured early life, you have to do this. And the way that it may be that part of you is still responding to the sense of having to do something in a way that, may have felt too pressurizing early on in life. And that's still the case now, even though you have very different capacities now. Now you have adult capacities, right? Actually, you can, you've got adult skills, adult capacities, so you can actually do stuff. You can take care of tasks, decisions, you can take care of business. You can manage your life in various ways. But it may be that there's some leftover kind of young response to that, where the idea of having to be responsible or having to do something feels overwhelming in some way or too much, and that you're feeling the kind of the heart clenching, the sense of worry or despair or overwhelm, even though maybe only mild. I know those are big words, but that sense of, what did you say? My heart contracts. So it's like, oh, that task that passes through your mind, what is it representative of? That's the thing to find out. Is it representative of responsibility, or is it representative of the fact that things could go wrong? Maybe you were made to do things when you were young, and then you did them, and then you were criticized for them, for example. And so usually when there's that contraction, there's some kind of leftover assumption or projection, right? Some leftover unresolved emotional response to something that at some point in life was too much in some way. Yeah. All right. I see that others have contributed different ideas, different views about being Buddhist or not in various ways. Another question. David says, is there an evening Sangha group meditation that you or anyone can recommend? Where, David? Online? Online? Well, you could always do this one. A lot of people, actually, we were just looking at the stats yesterday at the Sangha Live board meeting. A lot of people show up and do this online. We've been about 190 people this week. But actually a lot more do it out of order, because, they just 7 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m. in the morning doesn't suit them. And so they do it. They do it as if live. The recordings are available within about 15 minutes of this session ending. And so people then do it later in the day as if live. Otherwise, I don't know. That was another thing we were talking about at the board meeting, that there isn't, probably lots of other online meditations in various ways one can do, and there are apps and things like that. But there isn't really anything else like Sangha Live, which has this kind of consistent, very regular, interactive, live, kind of Sangha-based meditation together daily. So no, I don't know of that particularly. But given that there's a morning one like this, we have all the support of others, I think it's really great to have that kind of support. And it's also really great to kind of build a certain kind of independence in one's practice. So if you want to sit in the evenings, you could use these recordings, etc. But you also could just decide to sit. I'm going to sit at 8:30 and then just sit. No, you could sit with a guided meditation recording if that feels more helpful. Yeah. It's definitely whichever one's preference. Some people have a preference for sitting alone and quietly. Some people have a preference for sitting with some guidance. Whatever one's preference, I think it's quite good to actually have some exposure to both, including the one that one doesn't prefer. If you prefer guidance and support and group, wonderful. Make good use of that. But there is something about also cultivating the capacity to sit, by oneself and without guidance. You cultivate a sort of self-reliance in that way. Yeah. All right, and various other people have added their suggestions for other possibilities or groups that might be there. All right, friends. Please go spaciously and graciously through the day. Tomorrow we'll look at the way the infinite space of awareness is loving by its nature. So we've looked at awareness being infinitely spacious, infinitely luminous or knowing, and tomorrow infinitely loving. So nice way to end the week together. I'll see you there. Thank you.